Welcome to the Industry Trends and Insights Show, a reliability radio series with your host, Bob Francis, Research and Strategy Leader at Reliability Web. Each episode is designed to bring you key findings from the Industry Trends and Insights Research Program, interviews with leaders in the community, and the latest innovations shaping maintenance, reliability, and asset management. Now, here's today's episode.
This is Bob Francis from Reliability Web. Welcome to another episode of Industry Trends and Insights. Joining us on this episode, Mark LaPlante. Mark is with Octave. And Mark, full transparency for our audience, we met years and years ago, worked together at Meridium.
Absolutely.
And Mark he had such trust in us. He moved his family from Canada down to the U.S. and has been a leader in asset management. Well, Mark, tell us about the different associations and organizations that have helped build your career, and you have helped build the community, especially with 55,000 and all the other standards that you have been a part of building in the community.
Well, I mean, speak a word about, how I got here in the first place. That trust was probably 95% on your shoulders, Bob. So, I mean, you did leave a good impression on me, but yeah, it was a great move for me and my family. But you also opened a lot of doors to help me really expand my career and the expertise that I picked up along the way. So yeah, very good. So seeds well planted. So with that, about 15 years ago, you and I were sitting in a meeting down in Florida, I think it was somewhere, and there was a group of people around the asset management space that were meeting on the initiation of an ISO 55000 asset or a management system standard for asset management.
Right.
I think at the time it was called 5500. No one had really settled on the moniker at the time, right? But it was meant to be a management system standard that would be a sibling to 9001, 14001. Those are all the real strong, recognizable ones.
Right.
And so with that, I was able to be accepted into the technical advisory group through the American National Standards Institute and represent the United States interests to that at the time was a project committee.
Right.
PC 251, which was interesting because ASTM also had its representatives from, I can't remember the exact working group from ASTM, but they were largely property management people, right? Lines and lines of line items of government property, and was fascinating, which included, nuclear particle accelerators to F-16s and paper clips. I mean, you name it.
Right.
I mean, it was really, really eye-opening. So anyway, to answer your question directly, that project committee quickly turned into a technical committee, and we got to work leveraging what was at the time the PAS 55, which was sort of the gold standard for asset management standards at the time, but it was a technical specification rather than a management system standard.
Right.
And so we were able to lift it to an international standard, and that initial effort took about 5 years. We probably had a couple of dozen countries,
right,
most of which English wasn't their native language, top-notch experts from across the world, without a doubt. And we managed to be convivial. There wasn't too much bloodletting, not too many fights.
Right.
Although there were some pretty strong disagreements, but
iron sharpens iron, my friend.
Iron sharpens iron. And so when we had our Meridium conference at Sawgrass, we hosted a number of people from that technical committee, including the technical advisory group for the U.S. And it really opened their eyes to the breadth of asset management. So that was a really great, that was a pivotal moment, I think, for the U.S.
Right.
Right. We realize what this is about now.
Yeah.
Right. And so with that, we were about a year and a half away from actually completing the work and publishing, or what we call promulgating, the standard. And the success metric was that most voting countries need to be vaguely happy with it. So I don't know how precisely measurable that is, but we managed to pull it off. And, the votes all fell in favor of publishing the standard. So,
yeah. Well, from the Reliability Web perspective and Terry O'Hanlon's involvement in that process and the parallel development of Uptime Elements, which was a parallel and complementary effort to, at least can we agree on the language of how we discuss all of these things to help an organization, get on the same page and how do you define an asset, a failure code, et cetera.
Well, let's not leave AMP out of it too.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that was that group that it was aimed at primarily from Terry's perspective. I think he worked hard to ensure.
Right.
That was reflected as part of the U.S. interest, right?
And, so here we are in 2026, and it's not perfect, but all of these efforts have contributed to a body of knowledge and systems in place now so that organizations, whether they be a government entity, a municipality, or a for-profit corporation making widgets, this body of work now stands. And it is, in my mind, has been a huge benefit to the community at large, reliability, maintenance, asset management, how we define our stakeholders. And you have been such a key player in that journey. So that brings us to today, this week. We're in Austin, Texas. It's the Octave Stop One on the tour now that the company is, the spinoff from Hexagon. It's we had the big celebration you and your team did at NASDAQ 2 weeks ago.
Very successful.
Now trading, and this event sort of really being that stake in the ground. And I've had the opportunity to talk to lots of your customers while we've been here. And I was just joking with Joe Nichols, and I sat with Dave last night, the CMO. It's like, you're the fact that Octave has completed this in 1 year. I was there in Vegas 1 year ago when this idea was, introduced. We're going to spin off asset intelligence and create this separate company that will be this center of innovation and software and really just change the dynamic. And I take it as a personal point of pride that you were part of this team that has been innovators and change agents advocating for the end users, advocating for the asset owner operator, and especially those municipalities out there who they don't have, in a lot of cases, the budget resources to be able to go execute a lot of this stuff. And they're just looking for help anywhere they can get their hands on it. I want to talk about specifically, with that all as context, this business value calculation process that you've been on. I've seen a few versions and been given some insights on it. This is not anything radically new. I think you and I and many in the community have all, we're talking about this 15, 20 years ago, where if you're sitting down with a potential client, you've got to be able to equip them, a VP of engineering, a head of asset management, reliability leader is going to have to go somewhere above their pay grade to get authorization, because we have a problem. We have assets failing. There's potentially lives at risk. There's environmental harm if we don't get our hands on this. Or in some industries, it's just simple profitability, or it's just simply keeping humans safe. Whatever the impact, there still has to be a business calculation, something that will stand as a proof point that speaks business, does not speak engineering, to go to senior management, to a board of directors, to a chief financial officer in language they can understand, and that the value is there. Tell the audience about this journey you've been on and your experience, especially lately, of leveraging AI and other tools to be able to demonstrate value.
Absolutely. So AI has definitely been a key contributor in helping to accelerate, because it does a lot of heavy lifting, that I would otherwise take me and a team weeks or months to do, But if we back it up a little bit, the TC251 committee, we had decided back, I think it was in 2012, to write a technical specification called 55010, which was meant to offer the asset management community a way and a taxonomy to join up the performance of the asset management system and align it to the performance of the financial performance. Right. Let me summarize it to you this way. For the last 12 years, what I've been wanting to do, and for however many years I have left serving the market here, is that I want my customers' asset management efforts to earn a permanent seat at the boardroom table. HR is there. Engineering is there. Quality is certainly there. How can you have OEE without availability? I don't know. I mean, if you think of why an organization has assets in the first place, I mean, it's fundamental. I mean, there's just, how do you deliver, in public sector, how do you deliver programs and services without assets that are achieving their function, delivering their function without failure for mission time, And how can you ignore that and not have asset management at the boardroom table? Well, I think municipalities, I think government, particularly in the US and other countries like, the Netherlands are doing a fantastic job at that.
Right.
Australia has been the vanguard in asset management and public sector, right? Canada, very close second, I think, with CNAM and, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is a lot of really strong efforts that are centered on asset management and asset management system performance.
Right.
Right. It's brilliant. I think, public sector has done a tremendous job. Long way to go yet, but I think they can be teaching a lot of private sector what to do.
Sure.
Right. And so I have to tip my hat to public sector. And one of the reasons why we went into and I initiated the new work item proposal with the committee. So let's build a policy document. Let's build a standard for public policy and asset management. And that one only took 7 years, but we got it across the finish line. Again, we were all vaguely happy with it. And now it's available for consumption.
Right.
So there's definitely a case to be made when we look to government specifically and the Government Finance Officers Association. There is a thirsty audience there for how do we measure asset management system performance and how it impacts and moves the needle at the financial level. For instance, when EAM and APM are working well together and they're fulfilling the obligations for the work processes that they enable, right? What kind of data does that generate? Well, it generates an enriched decision support to take your capital forecast from maybe a 40% variable to a 12% variable, a 10% variable. What's that worth? It's millions, tens of millions of dollars, right? And so this isn't an economic framework or a business case around let's save a few bucks by saving maintenance dollars, right? Yeah, that can happen, right? If you're over maintaining or under maintaining, there's some savings that can come from that, right? Unplanned downtime, of course, there's going to be value leakage that you stop, right? But ISO 55000 is about realizing value from assets, realizing value from asset management, and realizing value from asset management systems,
right?
That moves the needle in financial performance.
Right.
And I realize I'm only scratching at the surface here, but there are structures that we've developed to help bring that in full realization. And the most impactful ones that I'm working on currently, right? The customer is actually co-authoring the business case with us.
Right.
Build up the straw man. Here's the framework. Here are the assumptions, and the assertions. Let's qualify them, right? And then bring it to the CFO and spend 15 minutes. Here are the headlines. Do we have your support?
Yeah.
Every time.
Right.
It's not that hard.
The reason I wanted to have you on, Mark, was I think in the broader reliability, asset management, maintenance community, because you work for a solution provider, there may be the misconception that these are, selfishly aimed tactics to promote the company you work for. What I wanted to have this conversation about is, wait a minute, you have to look, you would be doing this, I guess is my point. You would be doing this because you already have been doing this, advocating for this, creating this pathway independent of whatever your employer is, because the community desperately needs it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm here with Octave to serve the market. That's my primary focus.
Right.
And it's funny because when we have boardroom meetings and the salespeople are there, I say, now's the point where the salesmen need to plug their ears, right? And, and I think Octave is in a very important position right now in terms of its entity and, the fact that we're trading we're out there on the ocean by ourselves, right? We're at a pivotal opportunity to begin talking about value realization from assets, not features and functions of Octave products.
Right.
And what Matthias presented to us yesterday shows precisely where value leakage occurs at a macro level across the life cycle, because we're not just about operating and maintaining assets. We're about the conceptualization of these assets, right? The design of these assets, the building of these assets. Then once we've done that correctly, right, then we can operate and maintain and then protect them from a security point of view, right?
Would it be a fair statement to say that someone in a similar role at another solution provider in the marketplace, but who shared your vision and passion to make these standards that are available universally to use to demonstrate and document and calculate accurately the value of these systems and programs, you have been part of creating this body of work and the knowledge that goes with it for everyone to use.
Yes. Yeah. The
Everyone.
TC251 website, you don't even have to register your email. You just visit the website and download the information.
The CMO and me just skipped a heartbeat.
Oh, I know. I mean, I saw you start to faint there. But so Boudevine, I can't pronounce his last name. He was formerly the CMO at Copperleaf.
Okay.
Right. He's since retired. I hope he hasn't retired from the technical committee. I suppose I'll find out in Kyoto in a couple of weeks. But they're in the AIP space, right? And we've got a whole corral full of consultants, right, that do advisory work, right, for a number of different organizations, right? We've got policy analysts from the U.S. government, right? We've got asset management systems administrators from state and local governments running, the electric utility, the municipal electric utility, the water utilities, right? People who are there actually putting their hands on these assets. So incredible cross-section, right? I invite our competitors to help lift, support, and serve that effort.
Right.
Right. I don't think there's any IP there, right? Because if we don't build the management standards and have people aspire to them and to achieve them, then none of us win.
That's right.
Right. And so, I strongly advise, everyone to go through the selection process and join the technical advisory group as an earnest contributor to serving the market.
Yeah, because, you and I come from, at least our origins from the early days of Meridian was very heavy assets, oil and gas focused, some other industries, but this experience has given you exposure to the complete world of assets. We Reliability Web produce on behalf of IBM Maxima World every year. And one of the things that has been educational for me is the number of people in that community. That's a particular brand of a particular EAM system, but I never realized how big the community of building and facility maintenance people and the assets that they track. I discounted it. I wasn't educated on it. I've now realized, whoa, now I understand so much more about the parallels and the opportunities that arise when we have these common systems that everyone can leverage.
Do you remember a name, Gavin Lindemann?
Absolutely.
Of course you do, right? I had no doubt. He really opened my eyes to facilities asset management years ago for his time in Johnson Controls.
Okay.
Prior to joining Meridian.
Right.
He says, well, you think about the physical plants of these buildings, right? This fabulous hotel that we're in right now. I mean, the physical plant of this building, right? It's not just about flooring and doorways, right?
Right.
I mean, we're working in airports right now. That's one of my immediate future projects that's going to, kick in here in July or August, right? You think about that, right? APM, as you and I knew it, 15, 16, 18, 20 years ago, right? I always like to joke a little bit loosely saying we kept selling to the same 300 companies in the world, right? Because they had the bench, they had the budget, right? They had the patience, right? For a big enterprise deployment of APM. Right. What Octave saw at the time, Hexagon, when they saw with ITIS Digital APM, was that we can really crack open the addressable market for APM here. Now there's thousands of organizations. And so the work that I'm doing with, manufacturer up in Dallas, Fort Worth, or with the Port of Virginia, right? Or with various airports contracts that are one of our customers that do airport services. Can you imagine how much risk an airport is exposed to?
Right.
Well, you have to ask the question, where's the revenue? That's easy. Baggage handling, people moving, and passenger boarding bridges. What happens when a flight is delayed? Well, it can happen because of the ground power unit. It can happen because of the preconditioned air system. But what's the penalty? $83 a minute.
Wow.
Flight delay. And that's and someone needs to eat that. Right. International flight, $400 a minute. That's the penalty.
Yeah.
Right. So when we did calculations, and this was fewer than 700 gates at one airport, right? Guess what the annual risk exposure for flight delays was?
Had to be huge.
$80 million.
Wow.
Whose P&L does that sit on, right? And what does that do in terms of margin compression, right? How steep does it make that hill that they're trying to climb in terms of revenue and performance?
Yeah.
That swings the needle, boy.
Right.
I'll tell you what. So let's look at the asset management system performance, of which EAM and J5 and APM are part of. Let's look at the work processes. Let's look at what makes a delay addressable. And what do we do to react to it? And what do we do to suppress those failure modes so that they don't ever happen again? Right.
That's awesome. We're going to have to wrap it up here, Mark.
Right.
I think this is the first of many conversations because so many people in the broader reliability, maintenance, and asset management community all are fighting this same scenario of having to prove to someone in authority over them the value of investing and continuing to upgrade and expand their capabilities to run safely, to run profitably. And what I've seen is you have honed this process, and your participation in all of those standards boards have just been steps on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
So on behalf of the community, thank you for all the work that you've put in.
Thank you for recognizing that. And if I may offer one last token of wisdom, is with the advent of AI, it's imperative on all of us humans, right? All of us people involved in asset management become earnest students of asset management, because the danger has always been that if you focus on the technology and let the technology dictate how you manage assets or how you perform as an asset management organization, you will fail.
Right.
You will be disappointed. And, some people will have to pay the price for that. So the imperative right now with AI really, really compounds that need. Be students of asset management. Let asset management system dictate the technology that you select, and take it from someone who's written the standards and someone who talks to a machine for about 30 to 40 hours a week. I know firsthand, right?
That's great. This is Mark LaPlante joining us here on the Industry Trends and Insights webcast. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate all of your wisdom and insight. We'll have many more conversations coming soon.
Indeed. Thanks to Reliability Web. Thank you. Thanks to you, Bob, and hello to everyone at AMP.
We'll see you next time on Reliability Radio.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Industry Trends and Insights Show on Reliability Radio with your host, Bob Francis, Research and Strategy Leader at Reliability Web. This series is produced to bring you the latest research findings and innovations impacting the maintenance, reliability, and asset management community. For all episodes, research reports, and more insights, visit reliabilityweb.com or find the show on your favorite podcasting platform. And remember, leaders lead. Stay ahead of the curve, and we'll catch you next time on the Industry Trends and Insights Show.